Hey everyone, I hope all of you are doing well and welcome back to Isla Pacifica, where today I'm going to be building the last habitat on the island, which is going to be a crocodile habitat, for which I need to revamp the lake a little bit. But the crocodiles aren't the main focus on today's video, of course. The main focus on today's video is actually the museum that we are going to build or try to start up, which isn't going to be finished by the end of today's video. I would say that the museum is 1/3 of the way there, although I do think it's giving you quite an idea on how the rest of the museum is going to look like, which is actually what brings me to the question of today's video. So we have two options going forward. The first option is that I will finish the museum off screen. This means that Speedbuild wise, the project of Isla Pacifica would be finished then. But then we would also return to Cayan Albashar for the Mirage Mountains tour upcoming Wednesday, and then start building again in Cayan Albashar upcoming Sunday. Or the second option is that I will extend the project of Isla Pacifica by one more video, which is going to then be finishing up the museum on screen, maybe also potentially building that bridge that I've been postponing for quite some time. So just the basic rundown of the question is, do you guys want to see an extra video of Isla Pacifica and then have the tour of the Mirage Mountains Sunday? Or do you guys think let's do that tour of the Mirage Mountains Wednesday and then I will finish the museum and some other things on Isla Pacifica off screen? So that's basically the rundown of the question. So do drop down your answers in the comments below, and again it's either an extra video on Isla Pacifica Wednesday or the tour of the Mirage Mountains Wednesday. So with that being out of the way, so again drop down your answers in the comments below, but with that out of the way, I should really start talking about what we're building, because even though I said that the crocodiles aren't going to be the main focus, I do think that they deserve a little bit of talking about their habitat. So the lake is pretty much unchanged, at least for the majority of it. But I did want to make it a little bit bigger, because the story I went with is that all of the trees are being cut down because the town is going to expand, and the trees formerly or previously held back held the soil together. So then with the trees being gone, there's of course erosion. Also, Isla Pacifica is set in like a rainforest climate, so there are going to be periods of heavy rainfall. So basically that resulted in the lake flooding, or at least the edge of the lake sort of slipping away into the lake. Or, well, yeah, it's just the lake is flooded, and that's of course prime real estate for the crocodiles. So they are actually very happy with this habitat. And then also Zira talked about this in the last video, or commented this on the last video, that she loved that view on the waterfall, the windmill, and then the governor's palace in the background. And now you don't have to jump into the crocodile infested lake for that, because I made a, well, I would say tiny, but it's not, it's just on my scale it's tiny, but I made a platform so that you don't have to jump in the lake, because I don't, well, I was actually originally planning to build also a graveyard, but then I thought, yeah, that's just going to make this place a little bit cramped, I would say. But yeah, if I didn't build that platform, then that view that Zira loves will probably result in her being an addition to the graveyard, if they can fish her out of the lake or out of the crocodile's stomach. Because I think the crocodiles would be very happy if someone jumped in the lake. But anyway, now moving on to the main focus of today's video. So as I said, it's going to be a museum, but also not really. So the entire idea is actually that there's some explorer in or living on Isla Pacifica, where he basically has like a lot of expeditions that he went through and such, and he basically built up a collection of all of these kinds of like artifacts and just knickknacks that he brought back from these expeditions. And then he basically started showcasing these, well, showcasing his collection basically, to basically fund his next expedition. And then of course, like, the tragic cliches backstory could also be that on his biggest expedition he went missing. But yeah, so the entire idea is just that he is now showcasing all these knickknacks and artifacts in his collection. And yeah, this is also where some exhibit animals come in, because then he would like maybe bring back some weird animals that he found. So the museum is now housing 2 spiders, 2 iguanas, and 2 just general insects. So basically he just brought back all the things that he found weird or interesting. But then also I did not want it to look really like a pre-built museum. I wanted it to look like he first started showcasing his collection in just his home. And then when his collection grew or expanded over all the expeditions that he had, he basically bought out the surrounding homes and then just basically knocked down some walls to make doorways into the rest of the, well, into the other homes, so that his ever expanding collection could be showcased. And that's basically the entire idea of this building. So originally I wanted to also have it so that there was a courtyard. That one disappeared. So basically the entire layout of the museum, I can't really say it's a museum, it's more like a personal collection that he's showcasing, but just to make it easier to understand, I would say it's a museum. So I'm a little bit, let's just say, incoherent there, but basically the entire structure of the building is that it's basically just a block of houses, and he just connected all of those by knocking down some walls, which is going to result in a pretty chaotic building, which I actually like. Because from the outside, you don't really see it as one massive building, I would say. You would see it as just a city block. But then when you come inside, you see, oh, this is all connected. And it's total chaos, because I just think that this, let's just say, explorer is a little bit, let's just say, special. So he doesn't really care that it's a little bit chaotic, like his expeditions are chaotic, he is chaotic, so the building fits with him. But of course I wanted giant windows to make sure that his collection is shown in the best light, because otherwise you would have quite a dark building. So I am building some large windows. Most of the building is going to feature large windows. But as I said, it's going to be like a collection of houses. So I think by the end of the completed building, it would be like 6 houses. And by the end of today's video, we have finished 2. Which is, well, the house slash hall that we are building right now. And then we will also build the entrance or the lobby of the museum, which I should say is in quotation marks, because again, it's not really a proper museum, it's just a personal collection that he's showcasing to fund his next expedition. But yeah, on these expeditions he just like went to Africa, he went to the heart of the Amazon, maybe to the heart of like Central America, or I don't know, he went just everywhere and nowhere at all, and now he is missing because of course that's the cliche story with an explorer, that on his greatest expedition, he either died or he went missing. Or if you want to make a more tragic backstory, you could also say that he died just before he could go on his greatest expedition, which I think is a very cliche backstory, but it sort of works for this building. Well, actually it just works because I just think the explorer is a little bit extra, and the building perfectly showcases that. So now we are moving on to the lobby, I think you would call it, or just the entrance to the museum. And again, I did not want it to really look like this is the entrance to a very official looking building. I wanted it to look like it was basically just a revamped home. So this should be like the original home of the explorer. So of course, being an explorer, he probably had at least some money before he started going on expeditions, so his original house needed to look a little bit more, well, let's just say a little bit more expensive, a little bit more showing wealth, and then the other homes can look a little bit more, well, I wouldn't say run down, but they could look a little bit more like less financially stable, they could look a little bit more impoverished. But this one needed to have first of all, huge windows, of course, because light. But also it would need a lot more like marble, a lot more just extravagance in the building itself. But yeah, for some reason I decided to build my own window here, and I do think that one of the window pieces that we have in game is actually very similar to this. So I do actually think that I might have just gone a little bit over, let's just say a little bit extreme, but I could make this building, well, I could make it available on the workshop. I just need to make like a habitat out of it, or at least put it in like a habitat perimeter. But yeah, I went a little bit extreme, but I think you guys expect that from me now. That it's just like a little bit over the top with the buildings. I mean, I still get flashbacks of the station that sort of traumatized me and my PC. Yeah, I'm never going to let that station go. But anyway, so as I said, the main entrance, I didn't want to make it look like an entrance, and I am building this off the island actually, just so that, first of all, I wanted to make this museum, in quotation marks again, available to you guys. So I want to build it on a flat surface, and then later on when in the after video tour, I will basically place it for a very short amount of time on the actual island, so you guys will see how it looks like on the island itself. But then it's sort of built so that you guys can also use it, although I do think it would be a pretty difficult thing to actually use because it's a museum. I don't think a lot of zoos actually have that, and also, as I said, it's like built out of multiple buildings, so it's basically beautiful chaos, I would say. Or as Bob Ross would say it, a beautiful little accident. But yeah, I really started loving this building. I still think the Governor's Palace is just a little bit better, but that's because I love the Governor's Palace, I love the church, and this one comes, I would say, third. Also, yes, I made those, what the fuck are those names again? Let's just say those wooden things. They're a little bit big. But now, since I don't really have much to talk about anymore when it comes to this building, because let's just say the rest of the video today is a little bit more about just making sure that this, house or part of the building is finished and works as like a lobby. But I did see in the last video that at least 2 of you guys suggested to put monkeys on Isla Pacifica, and I would like to do that, but there are no monkeys in game that are native to South and Central America. Now then, I would already think that you guys would say like, oh, but the flamingos and the peafals, and actually also the crocodiles, because they're saltwater crocodiles, so they shouldn't even be able to survive in that lake, aren't native to South/Central America. But then, if I went completely with that rule, then of course we would only have 2 animals, because then we would only have the tortoise and the tapir. But the animals that are in Isla Pacifica, that are native to that region, that Isla Pacifica is based off or set in, are similar enough, I would say, to animals that are actually in or are native to South/Central America or the Caribbean. And the monkeys, yeah, they don't really look similar to any monkeys that they have in South and Central America. So that would already be a little bit of like an issue. But then I still thought like, oh, maybe I could like make up the story that someone bought a monkey, like he bought like a chimpanzee, and then he got loose and then now is roaming Isla Pacifica. And then I looked around and noticed we don't have any space left. Yeah, so I would either have to do a huge amount of terraforming to make space for that monkey, which, let's just say the backstory of that monkey is then also pretty, not the best. But then I said at the beginning of this project that I wanted to work with the, environment that I built myself. So I did not want to do like huge amounts of terraforming, so that's why the decision has been made that the crocodiles are going to be the last animal added to Isla Pacifica. Although I might add some snakes, because the museum, again put that in quotation marks, is a little bit bigger than I originally intended, which again is pretty normal for whatever I built. But anyway, we should start moving on to the after video tour. So again, I'm going to reiterate the question: do you guys want to see an extra video on the museum or on Isla Pacifica? Or are you guys, well, do you guys want to return to Clan al-Bashar in the upcoming video? But anyway, we should move on to the tour of the finished or somewhat finished build of today's video. So we're back for the after video tour showing what I've built today, and we're actually not starting with what I've built, but starting at the view that Zira liked so much in the last video, and it actually features one of the original things from the island. So this waterfall has actually not changed at all since the first episode of Isla Pacifica. Lake mostly hasn't changed. Of course, the surrounding area has changed completely because this and this was completely jungle, and now it's the governor's palace and a plantation. But the waterfall is pretty much original, and also Zira now doesn't have to jump into the crocodile infested lake. So we're actually, well, we're standing in front of a bench, but you can just imagine while sitting here, getting your lunch, and then just having this as the view while you're eating your lunch. And then don't worry about him. I don't know what he was doing. It looked just like he was doing a little dance. I don't know if he's able to actually get off that island because he has been there for... Never mind. Just prove me wrong whenever I turn the camera towards you. Although you are swimming through lily pads. I don't know where the female one is though. Before I started this tour, she was somewhere over there. But this is one thing where I've actually learned from PlanetZoo. Yeah, start talking about you when you come. Also autosave. See that someone is very happy to come and greet you. But yeah, since I started building in PlanetZoo, I've actually been proven completely wrong with my prior assumption that female crocodiles were larger than male ones because, well, that's the male one. The female one is there, and she doesn't change that much in size when she comes closer. So I originally thought that female ones were larger, although that could also be, you know, depending on the species. But yeah, Zira, the moment I started talking about your wonderful view and the crocodiles that infest the lake, this guy just happily came towards us. Also, yes, they are able to get underneath this pot. That was actually one of the main challenges, because otherwise this part of their habitat would be the only ones they would be able to reach. But I love this habitat, and it's also, I think, the most zoo-like habitat, because besides just having this as a viewing area, this platform just doesn't really have any kind of function. Maybe like, well, previously I had like fishermen's boats here, but then the crocodiles couldn't get underneath this platform and underneath this pot. Are you going to sleep now? Maybe he wasn't interested in eating us, maybe he was just interested in going to sleep. Which I can relate to, who doesn't love sleep? But now moving a little bit away from this area. So, as I said, the storyline is that all of the trees have been cut down to serve as either building supplies for the town or to make this area suitable for an expansion of the town. And then, of course, with the trees being gone, then the soil became loose. It sort of slipped away into the lake, and then with heavy rainfall, because Isla Pacifica is set in like a rainforest climate, the lake has just expanded. But because it's not endangering anyone, the, well, ruling parties on Isla Pacifica are not really doing anything besides having this, well, sort of fence. And also I just had the idea of like adding a lot of these pendants and such around the lake so that it looks like this might have been like a holy place for the locals or for the natives of Isla Pacifica. Yes, he is sleeping, so I really relate to him a lot now, because I love to sleep. But anyway, so this would be the area that would be for the monkeys, but this is also the only area that actually has nothing going on for it. which I actually like that it doesn't have anything going for it, because it's in between two very big areas, like with the plantation and the governor's palace on one side, and then the town with, of course, the church on the other side. So having like this area of basically nothing just works well, because otherwise it would just be busy, 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 busy. And you need those areas of like peace and quiet in between, otherwise it just looks completely chaotic. So sadly, no monkeys. But now to the museum. So I built this off the island. You can still see it's completely unfinished. There are only like two houses, or at least two parts of the museum that are somewhat finished. But if there is going to be a potential next episode, and I'm again going to leave that completely to you guys, then of course we're going to finish this museum. Also, I don't know if I can get a good view from it here. Yes, I'm going to build that bridge finally. I've been postponing that ever since we built the governor's palace, but I need to build that bridge. So that could be in that potential next episode, but again, I'm going to leave that to you guys, because I would love to go back to Kayan al-Bashar, but I would also love to, well, finish off this museum and the rest, well, mostly that bridge also, because let's just say I like to ramble. So for me it's no issue to make like an extra episode, and I rarely hold myself to my prior, well, things that I said. Let's just say my prior promises. Usually when it comes to deadlines and such, I never really go towards that. But I'm moving forward, but I wanted to actually just give you guys a little bit of a look also to this side, because actually it's still a little bit floaty, because it's not really built yet for this area. Whenever the museum is completely finished, I of course will make it so that the area fits this museum. Yeah, make the area fit the building that I built, not fit the building to the area. Because again, I want this museum to be usable by you guys as well, even though it's, well, this one is, or at least this house is completely, well, yellow, orange is, that one is completely red, that one is beige, which I think that part is probably the most usable. Well, at least isn't the most chaotic. But now, again, I love also that the facade or the entrance isn't that like this is a museum. But there are only two parts inside that are finished, so that area, as you can see, is not. This area is somewhat, and the lobby also somewhat. For some reason, well, actually this, as you can see, it's not really hooked up to the path yet, so that's why this place is empty. But this is basically the lobby. You will get like your tickets to go and see the Explorer's collection here. And you will also, again, this is a little bit more zoo-like, but you will get like your, well, how do you call it, auditory tours thingies here, so you can explore Isla Pacifica. I still want to say Isla Pacifica is set in like the 1700s, but it could also be like a reenactment of how it was back then. But now to the one place of the actual, well, museum, but put that in quotation marks, that is finished. It's this. So we have like some, I think these are the iguanas. I think you can never find those animals when you try looking for them. So, oh wait, there's one. So here are the iguanas. I think there are spiders, or there are just the general insects there, but that area isn't finished yet. But yeah, I love this place. It's chaos and I love it. Also, this is all what remains of the original courtyard. So they bought all the surrounding buildings and then just put a glass roof over top of it so that you still have the courtyard feeling. Also so that there's light into this building. But this is all that remains of that courtyard. So it is somewhat viable that this could have happened, because surrounding this period, slowly glass became more like, well, not mass produced yet because it wasn't the Industrial Revolution yet, but glass was more and more used. Maybe not as in a glass roof, but I mean, you could also still go with the story that Isla la Pacífica is basically a reenactment. So here, this is the first time I find an exhibit animal with the first view at it. Hey guy. For some reason I love the iguanas. Like I like the spiders, snakes I usually can't find. The iguanas are just front and center. Yes, he agrees with us. Don't know why he's doing that. Think I really have no idea, but he agrees with us. Or at least with me. So then we have some masks, and of course some pottery on display, some, well, drums. Not some trumps. But anyway, well, Trump would probably hate this place. But that's basically it. So, speed build wise, this could be the last video. And that would mean that this would be not the last tour, but the second to last tour. But if you guys want, I could make another video basically finishing up this museum, maybe building the bridge if I have time left. But we are going to end it with Zira's favorite view, or at least the view that she liked the most in the last video. No, the crocodiles aren't here to say goodbye. But the iguana agreed with us, so that's making me happy. Let's go back a little bit. So this is potentially the last speed build video on Isla Pacifica. Please do let me know if you want an extra one, even though that's not going to feature any animals. But with that, I hope you all have an amazing day. I hope you liked the video. If you do, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. Take care of yourself, stay safe, and have an amazing day. Bye bye.